it's worth your time to go through the proper procedures to make sure you do everything right, because there again, if you don't, it's going to come with penalties and fines. And sometimes it could be death, if you do something, especially with the gas line. You take a 16-inch gas line, I mean, that's major.
That's a lot of gas.
That's a lot of gas. We bring you live from the United States of America.
Yeah. Hello, YouTube, Profit Diggers. Thanks for joining us.
Yes.
If you like our content, we'd appreciate it if you would like this video, share the video, subscribe to the channel.
Subscribe.
The whole point of this YouTube channel is to share the knowledge about the construction industry and just general tips, especially if you're getting started with your own business.
Exactly.
So we appreciate any support you've got, and we hope you like the topics we discuss. Today we want to talk about cross-country gas lines.
Cross-country gas lines?
Yeah. What? So I
don't
guess
like working near a gas line.
It sounds dangerous, and it sounds like it could be expensive if you do certain things wrong.
Yes. It would be deadly too if you do certain things wrong.
Well, yeah, so safety is important as well.
Safety should be number one.
But it's, kind of like we talked about, a while back about the railroads and stuff. They're kind of the railroads their own animal, gas lines are their own animal. And both of them kind of write their own regulations. I mean, it's like whatever they say with their product, that's what goes. I mean, it's like they have jurisdiction over everybody else.
Well, isn't it technically a private company that is just amass these land leases to do whatever it is they need to do? So,
And, when you start encroaching, their right-of-ways and stuff, just like we talked about the railroad, there's certain permits and stuff you have to get into place. You've got to notify them. You've got to give them a plan of action, like, what you're going to do, how close you're going to be working. Just like the railroad sends out a flagger, they will send out an inspector or a gas representative that will be there, from their authority to watch over and tell you, pretty much what you can and can't do, and to make sure what you are doing is legal and right. Yeah. And they take it very seriously. I mean, it's.
I bet they do.
Yeah. Like I was telling y'all earlier, up in kind of southeast Nashville, a few years ago. I say a few years ago. It's been many years ago. It's probably been, 98, 99, 97, somewhere in that neighborhood. We were up there working on a subdivision, and about 3/4 of the subdivision on one side of the gas lines, and about a quarter of it was on the other side. Well, it was, and they fly this particular gas company flew these gas lines 3 times a day.
When you say flew, what do you mean?
They brought a plane over, and he was actually inspecting the lines, just making sure nobody was around them or, working around them or doing anything on them. So at that time, I did not know that you couldn't even drive on it. I mean, they was bush hauled, they was manicured, They bush hauled them regular. So I come out of the subdivision, if you went by truck, you had to come out of the subdivision, turn, go down the road a little piece, turn on another road, go around, turn on another road, and come in. About a 3-mile drive. Well, I was on a rubber tire backhoe, and I'm like, well, heck, I can just shoot right across that gas line. I could see all of our other equipment sitting on that. I just shoot right across there. It wasn't 20 minutes later, and here they come. Yeah, they showed up.
I mean, were they like marching, or was it?
No, I mean, it's just like it's three guys. They come walking up.
They come in.
Who's in charge, and I felt like an idiot, because later I felt like an idiot. I was foreman, and I said, I'm foreman on the project, and they were very nice. Don't get me wrong, man. It wasn't just like, we're about to handcuff you and take you to jail, nothing like that. They were very nice.
Right.
And they said, you don't have any permits in place. You're not allowed, other than foot traffic, you're not allowed to take any kind of machinery across this without a permit. And then they gave me the spec book that they had. And just like, if we were going to take heavy equipment across there, I had to build a bridge, like a land bridge.
Wow.
Yeah, to take our stuff, across there. We had to have cross ties, matting, all kinds of stuff we had to put down to walk our equipment on to lower the GPM, ground pressure, to walk our equipment across there.
Shoot.
And then we had to pay for that permit, and then we had to send them a design for it.
That had to be approved.
Had to be approved. Yeah.
Gosh.
So we decided that 3-mile drive wasn't that bad.
It didn't sound so bad.
No, it wasn't so bad.
Draw, yeah.
But, getting back to more relevant stuff, 3 years ago, we done a job over in Franklin. I cannot remember the name of the gas company now. But it was a good working relationship. We had 5 different bores under the gas mains. And these were 3 60-inch gas mains. And most of them had like anywhere from 7 to 10 feet of cover on them. So we were like 20 plus feet deep with our bore pits. I mean, these were massive bore pits. But, we had our permits in place. We had our land bridge in because we had to cross them multiple times. We had land bridges in. We had all of our materials and stuff inspected. They had a guy out there watch us dig our bore pits. They stayed there. We had to go down with their supervision. We walked the machine out. We had to take the teeth, had to have a smooth bucket. We didn't have a smooth bottom bucket for our smooth cutting edge for our track hoe. So what we did, we had to sit on the design, like, this is what we're going to do. We're going to take 2 old outside teeth on our hoe bucket, and we're going to weld a cutting edge across there, a smooth cutting edge, will this be sufficient? And they said, yes, it would. So that's what we did. We went out there and we dug down, and they knew pretty close. When we got to a certain depth, they wouldn't let us go down. They sent one of their guys down to clean off top of the pipe. They shoot grade on it. We go to the next one, do the same thing. They shoot grade on it. Then they gave us the elevations for the thickness of the pipe. And we had to be a minimum of 3 feet below the bottom of their pipe. So they got 60-inch pipe. The math is pretty simple. And every time that we had to measure. As soon as we got to like this gas line here, the first one, we had to stop like 5 feet away, 10 feet away, something like that. Then we had to dig down on our casing pipe. And then they had to shoot an elevation on it to make sure we were going to hit it. Go underneath it, go to the next one, had to dig down, find our casing pipe, the head on our drill, and had to shoot elevation. All 3 pipe, every time we done it, was the same thing over and over. Very time consuming. So my thing is, the gas department, your cross-country gas lines are a lot like the railroad. They're very stickler about their product, safety first, and they're going to protect their product. So it can make you or break you in a bid.
There's your tip, folks.
Yeah. So if you're not used to dealing with those situations, just like we said earlier, you can lean on your engineer, reach out to your engineer of record, like, hey man, what's my best approach to getting my permits acquired and dealing with this particular gas company.
Now these permits, Jeff Spencer, if I'm a subcontractor to a GC on this job, do I have to get permits for my crew, or is the permit for the GC good for the entire project?
Well, it would depend on. Actually, I guess it would depend on the gas authority you're working with, what their regulations are. Somebody's going to be liable.
Yes.
You're in contract with the GC, so what we generally try to do is get the GCs to acquire those permits.
Makes sense.
This particular job we was working on, the GC was like, I don't have time to deal with this. I don't know how to deal with it. I want you to deal with it. So I jumped through the hoops, made phone call after phone call, got in touch with the gas company, talked to them, super nice, got me hooked up with the inspector that lived just a few miles away from the job. He was very knowledgeable, very helpful, and I messed up on some of the permits, and I sent them to him. He's like, hey, before we send these in, you need to correct this, need to correct that. Do that and send them back to me. And because if I'd sent them in, it would have been a review process.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And then it would come back, reject it, start all over. So he saved me a lot of time. He was very helpful. So it's very frustrating if you've never done it before, but it's worth your time to go through the proper procedures to make sure you do everything right. Because there again, if you don't, it's going to come with penalties and fines. And sometimes it could be death, if you do something, especially with the gas line. You take a 16-inch gas line, that's major.
That's a lot of gas.
That's a lot of gas.
And, But there again, for those that haven't dealt with it, be prepared on your bid proposal to cover yourself. You know, it's always good, if you haven't done this before, it's always good to assume the worst situation. You know, I mean, it's like, what's my worst possible thing could happen, you know, as far as
Possible
money.
outcomes, not something, yeah.
Yeah, and
Think about it.
and look at it that way. Those jobs, hit them early. Don't push them off to the last minute, because you need to do a little research, find out what the permit's going to cost you, how time consuming it's going to be, and get it figured out to where you can give an accurate bid that you feel good about and you can stand behind.
Makes complete sense. Well,
Yeah,
Jeff,
well, you know, I was also curious about these land bridges, Jeff Spencer. You build your own land bridges, or
Yes.
there's a company that specializes in building construction?
But you know, with the ones we
grade
did,
land bridges?
they gave you some options, different ways to do it. So we chose an option similar to what they had, is a little bit different, but you know, because the materials they had were not available in our area. I can't remember, you know, maybe it was Texas-based oil company, maybe it's a Canadian-based oil company. I don't know where their base was, but the materials they was asking to build, we found the closest thing we could find, which was cross ties. Theirs were a little more flat than cross ties, but they covered a little more area too. They're a little wider. So we submitted cross ties. They looked it over and they said it was good with its cross ties with a run of boards on top of it, and it's like a floating bridge. It's more or less what it is. It got give.
yeah, which is what you want.
Yeah, and then we put matting down on top of it to where there was no rock or debris or anything that could get down through the cracks, where nothing could fall into the. And it's also another thing, you know, is how you build that thing. You got to take it up the same way. Here's your gas lines coming across right here. You start on this easement. You start with your first cross tie. You lay it down, and then your equipment walks up on that and carries your material out as you build it. You build it as you go. And then when your job's done, you start over here and you take it up piece by piece and take it back just like you built it.
Okay. Maintain.
And when you get done, I mean, the worst thing that I saw was like your grass was dead in a few spots.
Yeah.
But it's pretty clean.
Very clean.
Yeah.
Very cool. Jeff Givens, Jeff Spencer, the world out there watching the ProfitDig channel. If you wouldn't mind, we ask that you like this video, subscribe to our channel. Just Google ProfitDig, go find us. Check us out at ProfitDig.com. We have a pretty cool bid creation and job costing application you need to check out. Jay Work, our producer this evening. Thanks as always. We'll see y'all next time.
Have a good one.